All right, thanks, guys. Happy Monday morning to you. We improved yesterday to 21 and 12 in our last 33 crowd pleaser teaser tier package picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. And of course, that's good for 64% in that category. And of course, that's a website that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We're also 8 and 4 straight up in our last 12 daily best play tier package picks on that website as well. And that's good for 67% in that category as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But before we go ahead and move on, let's go ahead and take a look at some Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. And we're going to start with Danila Andreev squaring off against Vadim Krokin in a 6 p.m. Eastern showdown. Krokin has been playing very good table tennis as of late, one of the best in Liga Pro at the moment. He's currently on a 3-match win streak with an impressive 3-1 victory over Danila Andreev during that stretch. He also beat Vlad Shirokov 3-2 in a hard-fought victory during that stretch as well. Vad's also been victorious in an impressive 6 out of his last 7 as well, including another 3-2 hard-fought victory, but this time against Max Pronkin. Now, Andreev on the other side, a little bit different story, and more specifically, he's really struggled in his last handful of head-to-head matchups with Krokin. 0-4 straight up in his last 4 meetings, including a 3-0 embarrassment during that span. Now, Danny's also playing some of the worst table tennis right now in Russia, losing his last 6 straight matches, with 2 of those coming by way of shutout. Andreev suffered defeats to the likes of Krokin, Pronkin, and Shirokov during that span. And of course, that loss to Shirokov came by way of a humiliating 3-0 defeat. Doesn't look like too great of a spot here for Andreev. Doesn't look like a great spot for Andreev backers. So with all that said and done, give me Vadim Krokin winning this one outright in a blowout. And with that said, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Monday's Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. Happy Monday to you. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Now before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/Brock Page, where once again we improved to 21 and 12 straight up in our last 33 crowd pleaser teaser tier package picks on that website yesterday. And of course, that's good for 64% in that span of picks. We're also 8 and 4 straight up in our last 12 daily best play tier package plays as well. And that's good for 67% in that category as well. Very good package for us right now. We do daily premium sports picks on that website beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Currently, we have well over 675 members signed up and active on that page. Now, you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks where they can get them right here for free on YouTube, and it costs them absolutely nothing? And that's certainly a great thought, a great question, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this: if you were to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you are certainly, well, you're guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds crazy, but just hear me out. If you're going to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, side and total, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a whole lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. And most important, guys, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that is on the slate, side and total. And the good news is this: if you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you actually have access to that right now. You can do that for free right at this moment. My current Patreon record is located right on the Patreon homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. And once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got our team Arudinen squaring off against Vitaly Vasilevsky in a 6 p.m. Eastern showdown. Vasilevsky is the $1.88 underdog in this matchup here. Arudinen's minus 275 on the money line himself. And if you like the favorite in this one, Artie's coming off an impressive 3-0 shutout victory over the likes of Viktor Ivanov in his last outing. Artie's won 3 out of his last 4 matches, including a gritty 3-2 victory over his opponent here, Vitaly Vasilevsky. Even better, Arudinen's garnered himself a record of 6-2 straight up in his last 8, good for a win percentage of .750 during that span. You can also add a solid 3-0 shutout win over Andrei Kirilenko during that span as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, the $1.88 underdog, Vitaly Vasilevsky, certainly has had his troubles recently. He's coming into this matchup on a 2-match skid where he was shut out 3-0 in both of those outings. He was shut out by Oleg Nikiforov twice during that span. Vasilevsky's also been victorious in just 3 out of his last 8, including losses to Kirilenko, Ivanov, and his opponent here today, Artie Arudinen. So overall, I don't see a whole lot of value in this $1.88 price point. Looks like with the quality of Vitaly's play lately, this really doesn't justify a plus money play. Meanwhile, on the other side, might want to include this Arudinen play in a money line parlay. A little bit of an expensive price point here. But all in all, I'm going to lean toward the heavy favorite in this one, Artie Arudinen, getting the job done in convincing fashion. Next contest, Andrei Babkin squaring off against Sergey Kuzmin in a 6 p.m. Eastern battle. And this is going to be one of those matchups, more of a highly competitive matchup here on the card, at least on paper. Now, Kuzmin is currently coming into today's matchup on a 2-match win streak, including 2 solid hard-fought victories over Vlad Zolyabin, 3-2. Sergey's also been victorious in 4 out of his last 5, including victories over the likes of Basmanov and Babkin. And speaking of Andre, he's dropped 3 out of his last 6, including an embarrassing 3-0 shutout defeat to Vlad Zolyabin during that stretch. Babkin's also lost to Sergey Kuzmin during that stretch, along with a 3-1 loss to Basmanov within his last handful of outings as well. Doesn't look like a terrific spot for Babkin, although once again, this matchup should go down to the wire. I'm going to give the slight edge to Kuzmin, however. So with all that said and done, give me Sergey Kuzmin winning this one outright for some money line cash. All right, next contest. It is going to be Oleg Nikiforov facing off against Viktor Ivanov in a 6:30 p.m. slugfest. Ivanov's dropped 2 out of his last 3, including a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Andrei Kirilenko. Viktor also lost 3-1 to Vitaly Vasilevsky during that span as well. Out of his last 7 outings, Ivanov's been victorious in just 3 of them, good for a win percentage of just .428 during that span. Now, Oleg on the other side, he's currently coming off an impressive 3-0 victory at the expense of Vitaly Vasilevsky. Matter of fact, Oleg actually won the first set of that matchup 11-2. Even more impressive, Oleg is currently on a 3-match win streak, with all 3 of those victories coming in dominant shutout fashion. He beat Vasilevsky twice and Kirilenko once during that span. Oleg's posted a record of 4-2 straight up in his last 6, good for 67% in that category. Looks like a pretty good spot for those looking to back Nikiforov here. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Oleg Nikiforov, getting the job done on the money line. Next contest, it is going to be Ivan Pander taking on Vlad Zolyabin in a 6:30 p.m. start time. Zolyabin's last 2 victories came by way of impressive shutouts, 3-0. Vlad shut out Basmanov and Babkin during that span. He's currently been victorious in 5 out of his last 7 outings, good for 71% in that category. And once again, 2 out of those 5 victories came by way of shutout. Now, Pander on the other side, a little bit different story here. He's been an absolute mess as of late. And even more recently, he's lost his last 7 straight matches, including a humiliating 3-0 shutout defeat to Andre Babkin during that stretch. I haven't lost to the likes of Babkin, Kuzmin, and Basmanov during that span as well. Looks like a pure fate of Pander for me. Give me Vlad Zulyabin winning that one straight up in convincing fashion. All right, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Georgi Vladimirovich Vaknin squaring off against Vlad Shirokov in a 6:30 p.m. start time. Shirokov's coming off a solid 3-2 slugfest over Max Pronkin. Vlad's also gone 3-1 straight up in his last 4 with a solid shutout victory, 3-0 over the likes of Danila Andreev. Shirokov's posted a record of 7-1 straight up in his last 8, with impressive shutout victories in 4 out of those 7. He once again shut out the likes of Andreev along with Georgi Vaknin and Max Pronkin during that span. His 7-1 record in his last 8 is good for a win percentage of .875 during that span. Now, Georgi, on the other side, he's dropped 2 out of his last 4, including a bad shutout loss, 3-0 to Vad Krokin. Even worse, Vaknin's dropped 4 out of his last 6 contests, with 3 of those defeats coming by way of shutout. Georgi not only was shut out by Krokin, but he was also shut out by Shirokov twice during that stretch. Not a great spot here for Vaknin backers, in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Vlad Shirokov, winning this one outright in convincing fashion. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 8-4 in our last dozen daily best plays on that website. Shout out to Jansen Bordinho, Brandon Saunders, Frank Capra, Chemo136, Jeremy Wesley, Shrestha Gupta, Joseph Moylan, Bill McMahon. Also want to give a shout out to Tom Manzo, Josh Wilsey, Arvin Yadif, Alex DeRosa, Sachin Patel, Robert Tinsley, Goodnight Munchie, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Kevin Taylor. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.